Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by again. On this episode, we're going to get back to old Project Baby Cakes here. This is the one we hauled home from New York. It's been a few weeks back now. I have done absolutely nothing with this car besides dump it off the trailer, put a brick behind the tire, and let it sit. So we're going to get back to this thing. Let's give this thing a once over. I don't even really know what I bought at this point. Saw some pictures, drove 600 miles, threw it on the trailer, ate the one chip challenge. Never doing that again. Came back home, and this is where it's been sitting. So I'm going to drag you along. Let's do a little adventuring, see what exactly we've bought here, make an assessment, come up with a plan for what we should do with it, and then what do you think it's worth? All right, so what you see behind me, did a quick little walk around, get you kind of idea what we have to work with. But this is a 1969 Firebird Convertible, 350 two-barrel engine. So not what you would call anything super rare engine package-wise, but what I've seen so far after popping the hood, it does have the number 47 casting heads, which is correct for 1969. It has the YE stamped on the front of the block, which is also correct for automatic two-barrel, 265 horse. I almost scrape off all the crud beside the timing cover on the passenger side of the engine block and check the VIN number, but there's a very good chance it's going to match the VIN number on the windshield. If that's the case, I have a numbers matching engine. That might sway your decision what we should do this thing. Should we restore it back to an original or a resto mod? Anyway, let's dig into this thing and see what we can find. I figure we'll start with the inside of the car. Now, what you see, well, is the correct color combination. It is a black interior car, which is correct for this car if you check the body tag. It's all actually here and complete. It does have a center console. The door panels are surprisingly in very good shape. They need a little cleanup. Got some of the old mold growing on them, but even the armrests are in pretty good shape. Seats, on the other hand, unfortunately, the stitching is starting to fail. So I'm going to say these probably are original seats and original upholstery. I don't think anyone's done anything with the inside of this car. The best thing, or my favorite part, I have looked at lots of these cars. I've seen quite a few over my years of playing with them, but I have never seen an original 1969 dash that's still actually pliable and not cracked anywhere. So that's going to be a big bonus point. It's one of the big selling things when I saw the pictures online that convinced me that I needed to go look at this car. Now, the unfortunate thing you see in almost every single one of these cars, someone decided the radio, the factory one, well, just didn't work. They cut the dash all apart. So not the end of the world. They make this panel. It's a little pricey, but probably going to be worth it on this car. It is a power top car. It's about as fancy as the options get. Don't have a tilt wheel. Don't have air conditioning. It's only heat only. And the other thing that's kind of cool, this is a console car, but if you look really closely, if you look at the shifter, you'll see 3, a 2, and a 1. That's a 1-year only option bezel. I'm not even sure it was a full year run either, but that's kind of a cool thing with little details that maybe you don't know about 1969. But let's see what's in here maybe. And absolutely nothing. Inside the glove box, well, here's the surprising thing. The cardboard's still intact. That's kind of unusual for what I've normally seen. Normally that's all chewed up by mice, destroyed, rotted, or tatted. So that's kind of cool. Now the back seat, not much better. The stitching's starting to come out of these seats. So, I mean, they don't look awful bad. They probably clean up, but they're probably not going to stay together much longer. Now the downsides or the negatives, well, there's something wrong with the convertible top. That's not supposed to be sitting like that. This center bow isn't even hooked up to the mechanism anymore. So that's broken. And then the driver's side is even worse. You can see what I'm talking about. Something broke. And then this isn't supposed to look like that either. So the convertible top's gonna need some work, but I think it's repairable. Well, I think our next stop is gonna be here under the hood to see what we can learn under here. All right, I'll pull this up out of the way. Now what you see under here, well, nothing super special besides a 1969 Pontiac 350. It is a 2-barrel option car. No power brakes, 4-wheel manual drum. Other than that, at least it has power steering. We'll go with that one. But no air conditioning, and it's had the fancy heater delete option done to it, which is not a surprise. Not too uncommon to see the heater core bypassed. But the things of interest here is on that cylinder head. It's kind of hard to make out, but it actually says 47. You can just make out the 7 there, and the 4 is covered with crud. And then the front of the engine block here, like I was telling you, it actually says, if you look carefully, YE, which is a correct stamping for a 350 2-barrel car in 1969. If I can get you in here just right, I might be able to make out that stamping on the block. Cleaned all the crud off, and you will see that actually matches the VIN number. So this is actually a numbers matching engine. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the carburetor and some of the other bits here are actually the original components too. The only thing that's kind of puzzling me is the paint color. That's not right for 1969. It should be that metallic blue. So I'm not quite sure when, why, where, or what, but maybe this engine's been out or someone needs to educate me, but I don't think I've ever seen a 1969 engine painted this light blue. And then another interesting little fun fact here, which seems to be kind of cool, the vibration dampener, which is kind of hard to make out here, but that's the little magic thing back there behind the washer bottle. Both of them here are in the front of the car. So good news there. I have those 2 vibration dampeners. Typically, those ones are gone, or the ones in the trunk are missing. So let's start there next. All right, well, there and there. So all 4 vibration dampeners are in this car. I'm not quite sure why I get so excited about that, but typically they're missing or gone, so people had no idea what they were for. They thought they were just dead weight and threw them in the trash. But inside the trunk, well, we have the muffler, and we have a spare tire. There's a cool bonus thing. I have a jack. It might actually be the correct and original jack for 1969, because it has a little rubber pad, so that might be correct. Now, the trunk appears to have had some patchwork on the trunk floor. Now, it's going to be kind of hard to gauge how bad that is, because this is kind of gross. Gonna need some cleanup in here before I can really determine things, but the fender wells, everything looks pretty structurally solid. Inside the trunk deck, here's a little interesting fun facts for you. 1969 only. There's these holes put in the trunk deck. It's kind of a 1 year only thing. Now, I'll give you bonus points if you can tell me what that was for. I might give you a clue. It has something to do with on the back of that car, but you get a 1968 or 67 trunk deck, or most of the repop ones, those holes aren't there. So just in case you were interested, or a little fun fact, figure I might share that with you. All right, got that shut. Now, the back of the car. Now, it looks pretty much bone stock, nothing really ordinary. Something kind of makes me raise my eyebrow is this here. Well, there should be a body line or a seam in this. Now, I understand that the guy I bought this from, she was the second owner. She bought it in 86, so this tells me that the previous owner, well, they decided to do some body work. So I suspect there's some other hidden goodies and treasures if I were to start stripping this car underneath the paint that may affect what we do with this thing. Let's see what's in here. Now, here's something interesting. See the little vent tube there? That was an early adaptation of a vent system for the fuel tank. Later on, they actually ditched that, went away. So you bought a replacement tank, you actually threw that in the trash and it went to a vented cap instead. So this is, I can tell you, is one of the earlier production 1969 Firebirds just because of that. So now you've seen most of the good. The car's pretty solid. The top is clearly junk. I taped it together to help keep some water out of it until I get around to coming up with a plan of putting it in the garage. But let's dig a little deeper into the body and probably the bones of the car. That's where the problems really start to show up. Now, the passenger side, honestly, looks really good. Got a little blistering in the door, a little blistering in the fender, and it's a little bent. But that rust spot is only surface. The rocker panel is actually in really good shape. Quarter panel, fender well, actually looks pretty decent. Even behind the tire is not wasted yet. But when you poke your head under the car, well, that's when the story starts to change. There's your floorboard. The rear floorboard is, well, not good. It's going to need a floor pan, definitely. But the good thing is the pinch welds. That's kind of how I gauge the condition of a car, is the pinch weld underneath the car. It's actually in really good shape. No blistering or swelling on the passenger side. When we get to the driver's side, well, you'll go see some more of the ugly. And I'll get you over here to the driver's side. Starting in the front fender, you'll see a rectangular spot. Well, someone's done some patchwork on that fender, and it's not really holding up. But as for the rest of the fender, looks pretty solid, looks pretty tidy. No major blistering or bubbling in here, so that has a lot of potential. Door looks pretty good. Quarter panel, well, this one starts to get kind of ugly. Then you see here's some of that previous repair stuff. We're probably gonna find more of this old patchwork, or we want to call it, as we dig deeper into this car. We have a little blistering here, so probably a lot of silly putty on that spot of the car. And then behind the tire, well, that's not supposed to be there. That's some severe weight reduction. Oh, well, that's actually all Bondo. That's not good. So it's probably gonna need at least a quarter skin or a quarter panel. But now here's where the bad really starts to come in on this car. The rocker panel on this side, looking at it from here, not too bad off, but we climb under the car and look at the pinch weld. Well, that's every bit of 1.25 inches thick. So that's not good. That's all rust. All those layers have swelled up over the years and turned into this. It should only be about this wide here. This is going to need a lot of attention to get straightened out and working good again. So I guess we're going to say where the money is going to be spent at. Well, fixing the structure here on the driver's side. Well, there you have it. Kind of a little quick little walk around, climb underneath this car, give it a once over. Now, what I can see of the rear frame rails, they actually look really good. Patch side leaf spring, broken, junk. These are all considered wear items in my world. So I guess we're going to come up with this. What's your thoughts? What would have you paid for this car? Would you give her $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000? Would you give her $2,000? Of course, we'd love to have it for $1,000, but let's be realistic. You're not going to find a car like this for $1,000. Just not going to happen. Then once you decide you purchase it, what do we do with it? We've discovered the engine is a numbers matching engine, most likely the original transmission. A lot of the stuff is original. So do you do an original restoration, or do you rest a mod like the Trans Marado over here in this bay, or do we do something like the Project LeBron's right there, the red 68 Firebird they've been working on? We call that just a daily driver rebuild. Didn't fix the body, didn't fix all the important stuff, just for its cosmetics, I should say, but all the important things like suspension, brakes, structural. It is actually a very solid quality car now, so it's definitely usable. So what would you do with this car if it was yours? And how much have you paid for it? Of course, let me know in the comments. And then in the meantime, I got to finish up Project LeBron's. And if you haven't seen the video on that one's pretty cool. Bought that car, similar condition, hauled it home. A friend of mine worked out a deal that I do the videos and the repairs. He fronts the cash. Well, when we sell it, maybe I'll make a few bucks. The biggest thing was to get a little experience turning some wrenches in front of a camera, get you guys involved and see what could be done in a 2-car garage. So do we follow suit and do the same thing with this car? You let me know. And if you'd like to see all the videos on LeBron's, check right here right now. And we'll see you next time.